Okay, hello Cloud Gurus, and welcome to this lecture in the IAM Breakdown series. Next up, we have members. Now, a member is someone that Google knows about, some identity that they can validate, and you generally refer to members by their email addresses. Now, there are a few different types of members, so let's go through them. The simplest kind of member is a user. It's just a specific Google account. This could be an account from G Suite, Cloud Identity, the gmail.com domain, or it could be any email address from the entire internet that has been attached to a Google account and validated. The key thing here is that you have to be able to prove that you own the email address that backs this account to be able to use it. User accounts are the kind that you use for people, humans. The next type of member, though, is service account. This is generally not used by humans, but rather used by applications or services, computers or programs that are trying to interact with GCP. Now, if you think back to the labs we've done already, I'm sure you'll remember cases where we've used each of these types of member. The next type of member is a group, and this is a very important type of member. Group members are managed by Google Groups, and you can use this to combine all sorts of users and service accounts together. Group lets you do something like give all of the developers access to a particular thing, instead of having to give each individual developer access. The next type of member, domain, is for when you want to grant access to some resource to every single account in a particular domain. Now that domain needs to be managed by G Suite or Cloud Identity. All authenticated users is a different type of member. This is effectively saying that the resource is public. The only block to using it is that you have to have some Google account. Anyone will do. If you create a new Gmail account, poof, this gives you access. This is effectively public. The only difference is that you can tie actions back to some user account, which is what makes this different from the all users type of member. The all users type of member doesn't need any authentication at all. Completely anonymous access is fine. Now, in terms of these different types of members, there are definitely circumstances where each one is appropriate. But a rule of thumb is that if you're using any one of these, except for group, you should really be asking yourself why. Group should be your default choice, always. So let's take a closer look at groups. A Google group is a named collection of Google accounts and service accounts. You decide on a bunch of other users to include in this group, and you give it a name. Now that name is important because every group has a unique email address that is associated with the group. So you would get something like developers@mycompany.com. Now, even though the group has an email address, you would never use that to log in. You never act as the group. But if you're a member of that group, then that can give you the ability to do things. Now, like I mentioned before, you should use groups for everything. In any situation where you're doing something real and not just testing something out, you should pretty much be using a group. You can even use a group to be the owner of projects when you have an organization. And to be able to manage the groups effectively in an organization, you can nest them. So for example, you might want to have one group for each department, and then have another group called All Staff that just includes all of the department groups. This is good because every employee will be in some department, so they'll always be included in the All Staff group, and it's a lot less work to manage adding and removing employees this way than going and finding each and every one of the groups that they should be a part of. Well, we've now seen all of the key pieces in isolation. But when you have a chance, please join me in the next lecture, and we'll look at how they all tie together. Thank you.